All right, let's grade 7, and then we'll jump into prepositions. It'll be fun. You'll like that. Prepositions really clarify a lot of what we're doing. Move up here a little bit. All right, here we go. Are we ready? I am reading lesson 7. Hoi Adelphoi, protoi kai, hoi duloi escatoi. Not all at once now. Please, take turns.
The brothers are first and the servants are last.
The brothers are first, so that is a predicate use of the adjective, so you have to insert the is or are. The brothers are first and the servants are last. Genoscum in tas parabolas tes basilius ta kai tas didaskas ton ecclesium.
We are knowing the parables of the kingdom and the teachings of the church.
We are knowing parables of the kingdom and the teaching of the church. Very good. Hoi metete, genuskusen, graphos agapes, irenes, kai alethius, tois anthropos.
The disciples, they are writing scriptures of love, peace, and truth to the men.
But head of Christ is God. 1 Corinthians 11:3. Loai ecclesias tu tau nerois lagois. I could play the Jeopardy music in the background. You know.
I would love to do it if I knew what the homework was or did.
No, that's okay. We'll catch up. That'd be fine.
Catching up.
Good. Good.
The church is losing God to evil words.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You have all the right words, but let's get it in order. Luo is to loose or destroy. So, he is destroying churches of God by evil words. That's how I translate that. Okay?
Say it again.
He is destroying churches of God by evil words. Or with evil words. Or in evil words. Or whatever. Don't worry too much about the prepositions because that's what this week's lesson is. Aprophetes agai tu centripus kai melai legain legus tes basilius tuteu. Go ahead. If you got it, don't worry about it. Just share it. Read it.
The prophet, he is leading the men, and he is intending to speak words of the kingdom of God.
Yep. Very good. The prophet, he is leading the men, and he is intending to speak words of the kingdom of God. Perfect. Righteousness and peace and joy in the Holy Spirit. Romans 14:17. Lambanusen artan kai karpus ton oikon kai ferusendora toisaklois.
They are taking bread and fruit to the houses, and they are bringing gifts to the crowd.
Tone, oikon is from. So they are taking bread and fruit from the houses and are bearing gifts to the crowd. So it's a from and to. Other than that, dead on.
Fruit is singular?
Uh-huh.
Singular?
Fruit is plural. Yeah, it's a one kind of bread, many kinds of fruit. We don't know how many kinds. It's like one kind of bread and a fruit basket. Although fruit can also be plural, like you picked all the fruit from the tree. And when you say fruit, you don't mean just one, but you have all of them, but expressed as a single. Very good. Hataos, pempai, apostolos, tois, udias, udiois, pardon me, kai, krine, halan, tan, kasman. Yeah, not an easy sentence.
God, He's sending apostles to the Jewish, and He's judging all the world.
Yep. God, He is sending apostles to the Jews, and He is judging all the world. Yep, that's what I would say. I am the way and the truth and the life. John 14:6. Anthropoi, lusen tas kalas, ecclesias kai, tus kainus oikus.
Amen. They are losing the good churches and the new houses.
Now, there's no article in front of anthropoi, so it's just men. They are destroying, is what I would say, rather than loose. To loose or destroy, either one. And it would probably make more sense if they were tearing down the church or the house. So, men, they are loosing or destroying the good churches and the new houses. Yep, very good. Didaskai tasgrafas to lao kai euruskai tain aletheia.
He is teaching the writings to the people, and he is finding the truth.
Yep, very good. He is teaching the writings of the scriptures to the people, and he is finding the truth. I was kind of hoping he was doing it in the opposite order. I was hoping he'd find the truth and then teach to the people. But this isn't scripture, so we don't need to correct it or fix it. Sunagomen baptiza in te ecclesia. By the way, you're going to hear me say this 100 times between now and the end of time. The shorter sentences are always harder than the long sentences because there's not enough words to get a flow. There's only 4 words here, and you got to turn this into a sentence. Did you figure it out? This is a tough one. Like the short ones are always harder. Now I got you scared. Now nobody's going to say it, right? That's what happened. All right, I'll do this one. We are gathering together to baptize in the church. Now, how close were you? A little bit? Loi presbyteroi agusen tu somartelus te aletheia.
Truth.
Yeah?
Oh, I got from hearing that.
Yep, in the truth. Got the rest of it?
The elders, they are leading the sinners to the truth.
Yep. Yep, to or into, either one. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's what I would say. Ah. Apostolai hakurias tus methetas to cosmo legain lois tois lois. And note the infinitive in there right in the middle. And nominative is the second word.
The Lord, He is sending out the disciples into the world to speak to the people.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The Lord, He is sending the disciples into the world to speak to the people. Yep. Halaos sunagai karin tohiro.
People, they are gathering together to rejoice in the temple.
Yeah, that's what I would say. The people, now it's a collective singular, because that's actually a third single. So the crowd, it is gathering together, or they is correct, but it's halaos it's like the word the crowd. So it's obviously by definition more than one person. The crowd, it is gathering together to rejoice in the temple. Palan into lane kainen grapho min. Again, a commandment new I am writing to you. 1 John 2:8. And 1 John 4:16. Hata'as agape esten kai hamenon in te agape in to theo menai kai hata'as in ato menai. God, love, He is, and the one abiding in the love, in God, He is abiding, and God, in Him, He is abiding. Y'all get that? Parts of it? It's a cool verse. I'll read it again. God, love, He is. I'm reading very woodenly. God, love, He is. And the one abiding in love, in God, He is abiding. And God, in Him, He is abiding. Or as we typically translate it, the one who's abiding in love, he is abiding in God and God is abiding in him. That would be the way we would typically say it in English. But that's what it looks like, that same sentence in Greek. Okay? We're all good? Alright. Prepositions. The purpose of a preposition is to give direction to the verb. That's just that simple. So when we talk about prepositions, we're talking about giving direction to the verb. So the dog went into the house. So into becomes the direction of the verb. Okay? So some verbs take of all things. It was an ant.
Inside.
He wasn't carrying off my bread, was he? I wonder how many I had. You didn't just see one walk off, did you? Man. Hate bugs like that. A preposition gives direction to the verb. So, if the dog is going into the house. Dog going house, you don't know. On, over, under, around. Oh, there's a lot of, so you need the preposition to identify where this ends up. Now, the other thing that you have is that there are concrete prepositions and then there are abstract prepositions. A concrete preposition is if I say, go into the kitchen. Well, you know where the kitchen is. It's the room right here. There's a real room, and a stove, and a fridge, and a freezer, and you know. But if I say, stop in the name of the law, that's not a place. That's an authority. I use the word in. One of them speaks of a real location, and the other one speaks of kind of a sphere of existence. Okay? If I say, oh, he's in a happy place. Well, what do I mean? Where is that? See, I'm not talking about a real location. I'm not talking about an address. I'm talking about his mind. He's in a happy state of mind. So, prepositions can have concrete and they can have abstract. All right? Yes?
Why the prohibition against ending in English?
Oh, ending in a preposition?
It's so difficult not to.
Sometimes, like you just did. The old rule was, it's like a dangling participle. Which means a preposition always points to something. And so if you fashion your sentence to where it ends the sentence, what did it point to? See, for instance, what are you here for? Well, that's not the best way to say that. What's a better way to say that?
For what purpose are you here?
Mm-hmm. For what purpose are you here? But that sounds like a lawyer speak, right?
Right.
But that's actually proper. For what purpose are you here? Or, you are here for what purpose? Now it's very clear. What are you here for? What's the smart aleck answer to that? I don't give you a why, I give you a how long. Well, I'm here for a while. That's not what I ask. Yeah, you said, what are you here for? I'm here for a while. See, and so you didn't even answer the question. But if I say, why are you here? Or, for what purpose are you here? Or, you're here for what purpose? Now, you can't wiggle out of that. You got to say something or lie to me. One of the two. So, ending with a preposition is very inaccurate and nondescript is the way that would go. Ending with a dangling participle. I got this verbal noun. We went to watch a race, and we saw the runner. Okay, the runner of what? The runner up. He took second place. We saw there was a car race. What was the runner doing there? I mean, it just ends with this verbal noun, this noun in motion, and there's no antecedent. Nothing identifies it.
Okay.
We went to a track meet and saw the runners. Now there, it refers back to the antecedent. But a dangling participle, we saw the fighters. I mean, are they boxers? Are they jets? Are they,
So antecedents are more than just pronouns?
Antecedents are more than pronouns. In fact, a lot of times, a pronoun can be used, and you have to know who he was, because then just he doesn't make any sense. So, anyway. All right, now, here's a really neat thing about prepositions. Is that some of the prepositions only go with one case. So, anytime you see Anna enta, apo, ice, ek, pra, or soon, that first block, they only go with one preposition. They only go with one case. So, you don't have any problem. You know exactly what that fits with. Now, dia, box number 2, dia, it can go with two cases. Now, almost every time you have a preposition that will go with two cases, one of them is concrete and one of them is abstract. Okay? Now, I'll give you an example. Dia, like diagonal, with the genitive, that's concrete. Diameter, diagonal. I used diameter, didn't I? Diagram. I mean, what?
Diablo?
No. No. That's Spanish. What's the Portuguese word for devil? Satan? Oh, Satan. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, Mount Diablo. Mount Diablo is a mountain in Dominica, and it's the Devil's Mountain because it was a volcano.
They have Diablo.
Oh, Diablo. Okay.
That's true.
And so, but dia with the accusative is it's used abstractly or metaphorically. Those two can go back and forth. And so it's because of. Now, if I say I got my tickets through, him. Well, I didn't reach through you and pull them out of your belly, right? I mean, you hope I didn't. I'm not talking concretely. I meant by agency, or because of your connection, I got tickets. That kind of a thing. And so we say the same word, dia, but if it's a concrete, like I went through their yard, okay, I walked through their grass, or I got my tickets through him, then all of a sudden, I'm not talking about a direct location, I'm talking about means or method. And so we would use the word because of. The next word, in. If it's used with locative, it's in, at, or on, a real location. But I can also use in to say he let's see, I'm trying to think of an English equivalent. But normally we would say he hit the ball with the bat, or by means of the bat. And so it becomes a method, by means of. So in with locative is a real location, and in with instrumental is by means. Kata, down, upon, against. Kata as in catastrophe. To bring down, see, catastrophe is to bring down the layers. That's a catastrophe. So, but with the accusative, kata means along or according to. So every one of the New Testament Gospels is katalukan, katamarkan, according to Mark, according to Luke. Okay? Perry.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So how do you know which case to use? By the subject, or
Yes.
does it match up with?
It will match the subject.
Okay.
Now, the preposition never changes. The preposition is always, always, always this. It'll never
Right.
change. But whatever noun it is hooked with,
Okay.
it tells you whether it's concrete or abstract.
Okay.
And how do you know which noun it's hooked to?
Proximity.
Like, literally, it'll be, it's
Yes.
part of the word?
No.
Or is it comes before?
Well, there are some that become part of, and I'll show you prefixes later. But no, it's the nearest word, the nearest noun always.
Okay.
And actually, once you see them in the sentence, you'll realize that it's just like in English, a prepositional phrase. You know, he came into the church. Into the church is a prepositional phrase.
Right.
So you're going to know what it goes with.
Will it always come before the noun? Okay.
Generally,
It can't come afterwards though.
I can't think of an experience where that happens. I have seen it separated by negative particles, but I've never seen it come after, no.
All right.
I still have a question, but one, and I'm just going off the top of my
Yeah.
head here. When you look at nouns, the way they're written, they're genitive, ablative, okay? Okay, I see.
They're all different cases,
Yeah, or they're
different forms.
DLI.
Yes.
Okay, so how do you then know which, like N?
Okay, look at the very top sentence on 8.7. Let's just show you an example. So, because I don't want you to worry that this is worse than it is. The apostle, he is teaching in te ecclesia. So, in the church. You know, in the church is your prepositional phrase. That's a lid case. So it's locative.
Not like, it couldn't be translated, the apostles teaching by means of the church?
No, by means of the church. No, doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so it'll always make sense.
It'll make sense.
Gotcha.
Mhm. Look at the next one. Well, wait. Let me. I got to teach this one first, and then we'll look at sentence number 2. Meta means with or after, like metamorphosis, with change, or after. Para, like periscope. Okay. So the accusative is the literal one, around or about, like a perimeter, perimeter, around. Or if it is abstract, it is genitive and it's about or concerning. So now, look at sentence number 2. Amathetes legai parabolain peri tes basileus. Tes basileus is genitive. So if it's genitive, peri with the genitive means about or concerning. So the disciple, he is speaking a parable concerning the church, about the kingdom. I'm sorry, tes basileus, about the kingdom. You see it? So peri goes with the genitive tes basileus. So then you look back on peri with the genitive and it's about or concerning. Okay? Yes?
I've always had a problem with meta. How do we arrive at meta-speak, metadata, and metaphysical?
Each one of those is changing after. Metaphysical is beyond or exceeding the physical.
Okay.
Meta tags, I'm not even sure. Some of these terms come from, say, the Spanish use, not always the Greek or the Latin use.
Okay.
Metamorphe is very Greek, so it's after form, the after form. So metamorphosis is you have a form and then you have an after form.
Of metacognition.
Yeah, normally with something or cognition that is an awareness other than the obvious senses, a metacognition. Mm-hmm. But not always does that work in English. Wish it did. It comes through, since English is such a melting pot language, how other languages have adopted the use of some of these prepositions in their vocabulary has affected. So we can have the same preposition that means 2 or 3 different things.
So for like metadata, does that mean just data that's included with?
Probably.
Okay.
Like meta tags. I guess that's where that would come, isn't it?
Fine,
Is
makes
embedded.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Well, meta tags may make more sense than I thought then. Pair. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I guess really I'm looking at N as from my standpoint, is a different situation
It is.
than the others, because when I'm looking at the noun that it's associated with, if it's genitive, ablative, I know which sense to use it. But when it's DLI,
Yep, and
now I have to really decide which one of
You do.
those 3 it is
You do.
in order to use the right one.
Yep. And there's no clue except common sense which one of the 2 it is. Because you're right, almost all the other ones are a different form except DLI.
Right, okay.
So yeah, you're right. There may be even another one if there's genitive and ablative. I know that's going to occur in the next one.
Well, I only saw on here you have ablative and accusative, so that's,
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yep. In is the only one that does that, where the two forms are the same. The rest of them are not. So, yep, you're right. Uper, in behalf of or for the sake of, but hyper, which is where we get our English word, hyper, is above or beyond. So hyperactive is overactive. See? But if it's used with the genitive, Christ died uper harmatia, for our sins. So it's an important word. Upo, by means of agency, but if it's accusative, it means upo as in hypodermic, under the skin. So, okay? Now, the really hard ones are these last three words, because they can be used with three different cases, which means two of them are concrete and one of them is abstract, or two of them are abstract and one of them is concrete. Yeah, fortunately there's only three of them. The bad news is they are the most frequently used three words, but that's beside the point. Epi, upon or over, like epidermis, since I already talked about a hypodermic. Epidermis, what's on top, or in, on, or above, where position is implied, or accusative, over, across, where motion is implied.
Epinephrine?
Yeah, but no, that's internal. An EpiPen, yeah. Probably, yeah, I don't know what that would have been. Which one of those three it would have used? Probably the first one, because it overrides. Epinephrine is when you give something you need to overcome to an allergic reaction. So you're trying to reduce swelling or something like that. So I would say contact. But see, epic, our word epic, is just this overarching story.
isn't epinephrine a made-up name for specific medicine?
Probably a shortened name for something considerably longer.
But not from the Greek.
Well, epi probably still is. Yeah, it's unusual, unless that's an acronym at the beginning. Most of the medications do have Greek or Latin origins. So I'd have to look. I don't know.
Most of them are made-up names.
Yeah, a lot of them are, well, especially the trade names.
Yeah.
But
You know.
epinephrine's not, it's a body chemical, that's as norepinephrine. It's
Yeah.
secreted by glands.
I would bet epi means upon,
Okay.
and probably upon swelling or upon responding or something. So it's overcoming a response. But I'd have to look. The Spirit of God moved on the face of the waters. That's epi. Para, the top of the next page. Para. Ablative means from. Locative means with or beside, like parallel. Or accusative means beside, along. So para with the ablative would speak about source, where this came from. Locative means with or beside. So somebody who is a paraeducator, that's a partner, and that's implied that this is somebody who you're with. Whereas a parallel is something that's physically laying beside something else, like parallel bars or those kind of things. A parallelogram. These are all words that are out there. So that's para. The last one is pros. Pros is for, like prosthetic, at, on, or near, or pros can also mean like prostrated, where you're prostrated and you're down before them. Okay? So we use these words in almost all of these same circumstances as well. Now, often prepositions that are used over and over and over and over become prefixes to common words. For instance, at a door, it'll say exit. Well, that's actually a preposition, ek, meaning out, and it, meaning the door. So an exit is really the out it. That's actually what it is, out it. But we call it an exit. And it's been used so many times together as a single word, it's become its own word. And instead of being a preposition, it's become a prefix of that word. Then we have many words like that. Example. Out of many. That's what the word example means. Ample means plenty.
Right.
Example. This is one of many. I'll give you an example. That means one of many. Out of many. Example. We have a lot of these words in English that are really a word with a preposition that have been used so many times it's actually become its prefix. We have some that are suffixes too, but let's not tax ourselves. Now, I want you to look. I've already told you what the purpose of the preposition 8.3. Oh wait, I'm sorry, 8.2. You love that diagram, don't you? I mean, a picture of all these words. You just love it. I love it. And we'll come back and we'll talk about this. Every use, both concrete and abstract, is on there. Remember I said it's preposition gives direction. So there it is. Perfect.
So is this an exhaustive list of the prepositions?
Yep, that's it. There aren't any more.
Oh,
In the entire Greek language?
Yep. How simple is that?
excellent.
Simple.
Yeah. We're done. That's it. Nope. Now, what will happen is for the next few weeks, until you really get used to it, some of them will be simple. Most of them are obvious. You used the word common sense earlier. Most of them are obvious. A few of them, like the hardest one, in, which you grabbed right away, we'll bicker about some of those for weeks and have fun with it. Okay? Don't worry. If you are in the ballpark, okay, you're close. And we'll sharpen and fine-tune that as we go along. Okay? Just like the word tonight, a couple of times. How many times the word luo came up? Well, it is loosed, but in the context of the sentence, it probably meant destroy. But loose is the correct word. It's just really loosed, like tore down. All right? Now, look at 8.4, translating prepositions. What you do is you get a basic meaning, you determine the case, and then you pick a particular. And don't be upset if you don't pick the right one first, okay? You got the general sense. I mean, if you come in here and you've translated the preposition with one of the right ways, but it may not, after some reflection, be the best way. That's why we're here. Help you choose the best way. Okay? Elision. Now we begin to have some issues.
Are you saying that the case for the preposition will not always match the case?
It will always match,
Okay,
but even within a case, sometimes there's two or three choices.
okay. All right, that's what you mean.
Yes, that's what I mean.
As opposed, you're like up here under para.
Yes.
Whether you use beyond, but you should have said beside.
Yeah, or along, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And then after we kind of chew on it a little bit, you're going to come back and change your own mind. You're going to say, you're right, I don't want to use that word. And you'll have already changed it per the discussion. And that's exactly what this class is about. Is you learn it, and then you fine tune it. And, just for the record, I took my first Greek class ever, in it was fall of 76, 77.
That's back when they still spoke it, right?
Yeah, some of them still were, yeah. Yeah, Paul just had left, No, I've been fine-tuning mine ever since. I'm not done yet. I have sentences I've diagrammed, put in folders. I've got folders from the 70s, I dig them out every now and then, and I'm thinking, what an idiot this guy was. You'd never do, you know, and that's mine. I did it. But now, I've through the years, I've realized how to sharpen it even more. So, learn it, and then spend the rest of your life sharpening it. Okay?
So is this why, say from translation to translation,
Yes.
you have slight differences?
Slight variations, exactly. How they, or what they choose. What preposition they choose determines the direction of that noun. The focus of that motion. Worse, by the way, in Hebrew than Greek. All right. Now, there is one problem. As if all these choices weren't enough. There is one problem. And that is that not every word butts up against the next word. Okay? For instance, if I were to say parallel, that's not a problem. But if I were trying to say para-apple, it would be a problem. So the fact that the word I'm wanting starts with a vowel and the preposition I'm using ends with a vowel, vowels do not play well together. Okay? So one of them normally has to give way, or we drop the vowel and change the final consonant. So, let's say the word anti, okay? So, anti, opposite or instead of. But if it's before a rough breathing mark, which means the vowel is an H sound, the T, the tau, absorbs the H sound, and the tau becomes a theta. So the rough breathing mark is actually absorbed into the consonant. Apo. If it's apo, like up, well, I was thinking like the word opposition. See, opposition. There's another one where oppo as a preposition has become a prefix to a position. Opposition, the O just went away.
Apostasy.
Apostasy, yeah. Yeah. So, no, I'm sorry, apostasy is not. I agree with that too quickly.
Apprehension.
Pastas, no.
It's an opposite state.
No, there it's an alpha negative. To post something, it's like a deposit, an exposit, an apposit. Apposit means without position. Apostasy. Deposit is to put something in. Exposit is to take something out. We won't even go into supposit. Let's skip that one altogether. Let's here, let me give you an example, because this is what I'm talking about. You have oppo, and then now I'm going to go to English. OP. It should be OPO. Position. And what happens is that drops out. Yeah, and you get opposition.
Right.
Well, that's the middle column. The middle column of oppo is opposition. Or if it is with a rough breathing mark, the P and the F go together, and what does that make in English? A P and an F. Or P and an H.
Becomes a 5.
Becomes an F. Which is phi.
So what does a smooth breathing mark look like?
Oh, the smooth, rough is right. See it like agape. I'm sorry. Agapao. I don't think you've had that word yet, have you? Okay, agapao. Or, yeah, I was thinking of, what's a word you've had that starts with a rough breathing mark?
Clear.
What's that?
He's right. Anybody else?
Yeah, but that's a diphthong.
So it's the reverse of that one?
Yeah. That's just a reverse. I was trying to find one that you had.
Holos?
Yeah, halos. Yeah, there you go. Halos.
What is that? All. Whole.
Halos. Where we get our word whole.
Okay. Is that holistic as well?
Yeah. So if it, here's the rule. If it points to the right, it is rough. If it points to the left, it is smooth.
Or wrong?
Well, there's just no sound. Okay? So that's kind of a complication, is that some of these prepositions change depending on the word they butt up against. Okay? The same way we talked about adding a banana and apple. Remember we talked about the liquid consonant, the movable nu?
Right. Is that lenition?
That's not Elysian, that's actually another word. But that's okay. That's a rarer word, we don't worry about that. But it has to do with euphonics. And so does this. This is all based on euphonics.
Will the breathing marks always be present then in the sentence?
Mm-hmm. Now, one other minor thing. I didn't really spend too much time on breathing marks because they aren't inspired. We just know whether we should or shouldn't pronounce an H. But if the root had an H, and now I need to merge that with this preposition, that's what that's about. Now, compound forms, that's what I've been telling you at the bottom of the page, is that every now and then a word is used so many times it becomes its own word. For instance, angelos is the word for angel or messenger, or angelia is the word for message. You haven't had it yet, but that's angelia is the word based on angelos. Epiangelia, upon a message, is actually the Greek word for promise. That's the word for promise. Upon, and think about it, that's on my word. I give you my word. Epiangelia is upon a message, so therefore it's the same as me saying I give you my word. I promise. Okay?
Questions?
Yes, please.
These allusions,
Yes.
this happens when you're making a compound word, correct?
It
Not when
does.
they're standing by themselves.
No, it can change even when they're standing by themselves. Mhm. But I tell you why. Because remember, there weren't spaces between the words in Greek.
Okay.
So it would have every word butted up against the next. Because they didn't have spaces between the words.
We have spaces in our practice sentences, so.
Yeah. But it still follows these rules.
Okay.
Now, let's turn the page and I'll pick one that has an elision, just so that we can have that practice, okay? Scanning. Tell me he didn't have an elision in this whole lesson.
I don't remember one. That's why when we did this the second time, I went,
That's odd. Okay, well I've read a couple sentences to you. Let me read a couple more, okay? And then I gotta go. I got 4 minutes to start my next class. Here we go. Artan sun karpois ferusin ektueku kai pros tus anthropus. Bread with fruits they are bearing out of the house and toward the men. And do you see all of a sudden how ek and pros give you a real clear sense of direction in that sentence? Bread and fruits they are bearing ek to oiku, out of the house, and pros, toward tus anthropus, the men. Prepositions are going to be so helpful to you guys. I mean it, just so helpful. Lambanomen agathos didaskas apo tu pistu adelphu. We are receiving good teaching from the faithful brother. Apo, from as in source. See? Well, apo can only be one thing. It's in the very first box. Let me go to the next one. Verse 7, or sentence 7. Dia ton graphon ton matheton genoskomen ten alethian. We are knowing the truth through the writings of the disciples. So there's a sentence that's almost upside down. Let me read it woodenly. Through the writings of the disciples, we are knowing the truth. Everybody see that? Tous methetas adelphos pempai ektoin okon kai eis ten ecclesian. The brother, he is sending the disciple out of the houses and into the church.
Houses?
Ton oikon.
One brother?
The brother. He is sending the disciples out of the houses and into the church. I don't know.
Say what?
Doesn't make any sense, but there it is.
Okay.
Sending the disciples out of the house and what?
Into the church. Ten ecclesia. Hakurias legai parabola in lagois agapes. The Lord, he is speaking parables by in. Here's your worst one right here. This is your worst nightmare. By in with to for could still be any of them. I'm going to say by words of love or with words of love. But without more context, I'm not sure how we would determine which one that is. See, again, you've got a sentence that's just hanging out here in the middle of nowhere. So, 5:59, I must leave. I told you last week 7 was easy and 8 would take some time. You may email me and ask me if you get stuck on a sentence. I'll be happy to help you any way I can. Okay? And what I would typically do is write out the sentence in Greek and then put with it the translation. Help you out your way. Okay? And I'll have to